Hey guys, so how beautiful is Moana? These fig pins are so cool. I just think they come out with the coolest stuff. I like them. I think they're pretty neat. I like all the detail in the fig pins, you know. I'm excited to show you this craft. I say excited a lot. Considering I'm an English teacher, you'd think I'd come up with some better adjectives than excited. I'm stoked. I think it's going to be a fabulous craft. So I'm pretty stoked to show you this new craft. So I've made this one before, and I sold it in Whatnot. So some people might have seen it if you go to my Whatnot, but I didn't have the video. The other video that I filmed was like really messed up. It was when I was transitioning from regular frames into the shadow box frames, and it made a big difference. So I actually had to refilm this because the first video just had too many complicated mistakes. It was easier just to refilm it than to try and correct the video. You know, sometimes it's just easier to do it again. So I know this is going to be stunning and beautiful. Can't wait to show you this one. It's a good one. It has a lot more die cutting. So if you were to do it yourself, you would need to get the die cutting machine and things like that and other things to be able to make the waves, or try and hand make them yourself. That's not what I'm doing here, but I really hope that you like the techniques that I show, the different aspects, you know, because each one of these I try to show something a little newer, not necessarily make them all the same. So I'm happy to show you something new. Again, you guys know I was a teacher for a long time, so I really love teaching people how to make things. I hope you guys enjoyed this craft. Remember, you can always purchase these on my Whatnot, or you can direct message me through the various socials, and I'll let you know what I have available. And yeah, I hope you guys like this. So thanks so much. Hey guys, as I told you, the pin is just stunning. It's just so cool. I just love it. I love how these pins are. They just turn out really cool. So we're first going to take a 5x7 piece of paper, and then we're going to take our, this is 4.5 by 6 inches. And this paper comes from the, we've used it a few times, Everyday Skies. It's the same one I used for Pocahontas, and it has all kinds of skies inside, just stunning paper. I even thought about using one of these, you know, daytime skies, which I could have done for Moana. It's just when you see what I wound up doing, oh, it's this one. This is the one I wanted to use. All kinds of sky, and then the back side is just like a plain kind of paper, nothing special. But the front side, I was thinking about using this one as like the sky behind Moana, as if it was daytime, which would have worked as well. It just, you know, I didn't in the end. But it was really great paper. Remember, you can always buy retired products from some of my friends. I don't usually have a lot of retired products, but some of my friends have tons of it, and they are happy to share the wealth, you know, and get it off their hands. So I, you know, encourage you to talk to them. I'll put their name on the screen. And this is a retired stamp set, but it has these extensive dies in it that are just gorgeous, and they cut out these beautiful waves in addition to the detailed stamp that is already, these are magnets in the back here holding these metal dies down. That's what these are called, die cutters. And you have a little machine, you roll them through. I've done a couple videos, you know, showing them. And so I cut out these pieces, and I'll show you, there's two different ones, and they layer on top of each other. We're also going to be using this large distinctive stamp. We call this a distinctive stamp because it has so many details within the wave, you know, that are cut into the rubber. So as you can see, they're two different dies. They're not the same. You see how this has two little like teardrop type things, and this one has like several little teardrops. And then when they layer on top of each other, they create this massive textured wave. And so they look really beautiful. But what looks even better is when you stamp the paper with your with this when you stamp the image, and then you get this amazing wave. So actually, because it's such a large stamp, I'm going to stamp it from the top. This is Coastal Cabana ink, and I'm going to stamp it from the top because it's just such a large stamp. Sometimes it's easier to do that than go the other way around. And look, it's actually almost as wide. It's like, this is, I think, 5.5 inches wide. And let me just press that down. And I'm going to press, don't rock it, but I'm just going to press down pretty hard because I want to make sure all the little bubbles, all the little textures that are in this stamp come out. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm trying to be on camera. Let's see. Did I move it? No, I think that's good. I've got to back up if that one doesn't look right. No, that looks good. Yeah, that looks good. And so here are some others. These were just others that I had done ahead of time with some different colors, I think, or something. So once we have that image stamp, we're going to be cutting it out, but we just have to take a minute. Okay, so now we're going to cut out our wave, and I'm just going to roughly cut it for a second and just set this paper scrap aside. And I don't have to be too meticulous on the edges because a lot of the edging is going to be hidden. I might not have wanted to cut that bottom piece off, but it's okay. And then I'm going to cut right along the edge here. And I'm going to cut right along this edge up here. What's going to happen is I'm going to be using the templates here, or the dies, to kind of guide me. I had made a template, but I can't seem to find the template now. So, and they're going to be cut a little lower because we want it to be smooth where the wave is like hidden behind. We don't want too much of this cut edge. We want the foil to be the edge. And that's the tricky part, is cutting this out to where the foil is the edge. So you know what I'm going to do is I had made a template, but you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just glue this down, because that's probably going to be easiest for everyone, is if we glue down the foil and then decide how we're going to trim, because it's really difficult to trim it freehand. So let's glue this down. Oh, this piece did not cut. Okay, well, I guess that piece is staying. It did not cut through. It's okay, we might wind up cutting it off anyway. All right, so all I'm gonna do, there we go, this one can come out. Okay. And yeah, that one did not cut through for some reason. And all we're going to do is we're just going to take the tiniest bit of glue, and I'm just going to take the tiniest bit of white glue. Come on. There we go. I'm just going to put a little bit. I don't want to put too much. You just want to have enough to press it to the paper, but it doesn't need to be soaked in glue. It's like, ooh, okay. It was clogged. I was wondering why it wasn't coming out. It was clogged, and then I pulled a big old chunk out. So I'm like, all right. All right, so we're just gonna put a tiny bit, and just the tiniest bit. Now there's lots of different people use different techniques. I'm just literally dabbing the tiniest bit of glue anywhere I can to kind of just hold down. I don't want it to be super adhered, but I do want it to just be tacked down, if that makes sense. Yeah, tacking is really what I wanted, because it's really hard to trim this without it being glued down. And so we'll go ahead and we'll glue that down. All right, all this glue on my finger. Glue and paper. All right. We've got that tacking down just a tiny bit maybe. There we go. I was like, I know I put a little piece of glue there. And then we're gonna do the same thing on this one. I'm just putting it the tiniest dab because I don't want it, like I said, just want it tacked down. I don't want it super adhered. And then we put this over the top. Now, I think this one's the top one because it has the tall corner. And so this one, I feel the one that has the 3 little drops down in the front here, I feel that that one is the top layer. All right, just be trying not to get glue on it with my gluey fingers. All right, and I think I put a piece right there, but it's not going to glue down. So at least it's somewhat adhered down. There we go. And now what we can do is we can trim the excess off. And so, and I'm gonna just go just underneath, just be very gentle not to cut your dies. And don't go, you don't wanna go too far below because then you'll cut into the part that's being hidden. So it's just a delicate balance to try and trim it just enough to where you can still keep the stamped images of the wave below it, but not necessarily need it. I just find this to be a really pretty. Now, when I'm doing this on a card, I don't trim all this. But because it's for Moana, I really want the foil to be the focus wave and not the stamp underneath. The stamp is just kind of like help give it dimension. This is the hard part right here, is the turning of this part right here. And I'll have to keep trimming it, just wait. Oh, I did pretty good on that first run, so we'll do a little more. It's just the trickiest part. When people talk about crafting, it's like, sometimes it's just the little things that make it hard, you know? And let me get this little edging. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cut this little bit off underneath here. I like these little drips, so I really want them to be highlighted. So I'm cutting this a little bit off. Okay. Let me cut this a little bit. And again, you can trim as much as you want. I just know I liked this particular curl because it's very much like the Moana wave, you know. And so all right, so there we go. So that wasn't too bad. I was a little worried it was going to be too complicated and boring, but it wasn't as hard. And we're going to need to put a little bit of glue. This needs to stay down. So we're going to put a tiny bit of glue right here to make sure this stays down. You just got to find where there's a spot to tack it, because otherwise it's going to keep popping up. There we go. We'll just hold that there for a second. It keeps popping up and I don't like it to be that 3D in that way. And then we'll add a little bit of glue right there. And I think that should hold that down. I want the waves to be 3D, but I also want them to be like consistent. We're gonna be layering this at the bottom of the 4x6. So it's a little tricky how we layer it, but it'll be fine. And let me see, I wanna make sure that, I guess I can trim it. I'm gonna go ahead and glue this down to the 5x7. I'm a little nervous about it being a little too off center, but it'll be fine because I can trim it if I need to, because the front piece here will be the guide. All right, we'll just try and get that as centered as we possibly can. And the reason why I chose this piece is because I did want the night sky. I wanted to have that little night sky aspect. All right, so then we're going to be putting this little label piece on top, and I'm hesitant to trim anything until I'm really for sure done with what I want, because that was the problem I had on my first video, is I started trimming and then it was like chaotic and messy, and I wound up having just to redo the whole thing. So the first video was like 2 hours long, and because I just kept making all these mistakes, and it was just trial and error, and it was really difficult. So, all right. So let's go ahead and put Moana down with her backing. And I want her to be here. So that's where I think I need to shift. That's why I don't want to cut the wave, because I'm going to need to shift her over, because I need her here, but I want the wave to be prominent and visible. And then I also printed a little label. And I think I want this label to be adhered to the front. And it just, all I did was I printed the sentiment, and there's just no telling how far I'll go onto, this is called fresh freesia paper, and then I trimmed it out. Now, what I realized after my first one that I made, because this was such an angle for the lettering, when I cut it straight, I didn't like it straight. So this time I cut it, I used the letters as the guide to cut my words. So let me show you the big one. I'll show you the full one, just so you understand what I'm meaning. So you see, if I cut it straight, let me just cut one and show you, because I think that'll be easier. Sometimes it's really hard to explain. And so I'm going to cut this, and I'm cutting it pretty tightly. And what I'm using is the line in here in the gap to help see where the letters of the Moana are, and that's where I know where to cut. And I think that's about right. I'm not measuring, I'm just trying to get my letters right. And then we'll cut down. All right, so that's good, easy peasy, right? But then when I cut it like this, square, it just looked funny. Now I left it a lot, but it just looked funny when I had the label of it square, because the lettering went at an angle, and I kind of liked that it went in an angle because it reminded me of the wave. So when I trimmed it, I just trimmed it like this. Just a tiny trim off the edge here, like that, okay? But it looks crooked because this angle here does not match the angle of the letters. So this top one looks crooked. It's not crooked, but the words here look like they're written at a slant, because this angle here does not match the angle of the letters. So what I did for this one today is I made sure that my angles match the lettering. And how I did that was I aligned the G and the exclamation point. I just aligned them in the window down here. So I'll zoom in. So I aligned them in the window and made sure that I had them both in the window, and then I slid it over just a little bit. Let me make sure. Yep. I aligned them both in the window, and then I cut. Well, to the left of the window. Like this one's really tight. This one's probably a little too tight. But see, the angle matches the lettering now. as opposed to before where the angle made the lettering look crooked. So this one's a little tight. I might not be able to use it, but we'll see. And yeah, that looks about right. I'm gonna go ahead and glue this down. Sometimes we just gotta trust and do it. So I'm aligning it. What I figured out just now is that if I align it to the side there, it's gonna look okay. All right, I'm gonna align it over here to the side. I think that's what I did just now. I'm forgetting already. Come on. All right. And so I want to cover a little bit of the bottom, and then, but we need plenty of space for Moana here. All right, and then we still have that at the top, so I think we're okay. I think we're all right. So I aligned it to the right side here, and it's okay that there's a little bit of space here. It'll be fine. We'll make it work. And then I'm gonna actually glue this to the front, because this needs to be glued to the front part. So let me just put, I want it popped up, but I think the best way to do that is to, we might need to add a dimensional, but I just need to help it gauge the, writing. And I'm only allowing a tiny bit of space at the top because I'm going to be putting Maui's hook in the sky. All right, cool, that is glued down. So that's good. So we can also put some dimensionals on the back of that if we need to, as we need to. And then I'm gonna pop this frame on dimensionals, and it's gonna go over the top. All right, so let's go ahead and let's just frame. I'm just gonna put them along the frame here, because then I know I've got them in place and don't have to worry about whether it's far enough apart or what, or showing, or, you know. And then I'm going to put a couple on the back of this too, because that'll just help it stay up a little bit. Okay, now the wave will be down here. So let's see. Okay, yeah, because the wave is pretty thick. So I don't want to add dimensionals to the wave part here, because the wave is really thick. It's almost as tall as the dimensionals. So, okay, good. We're good. We're good. Okay. All right. The hardest part, I think, was cutting out the wave. That was the hardest part. And then cutting out all these little pieces, because they're super delicate, and it's a pain. I'm not gonna lie. It's a little bit of a pain because they are so delicate. Because the effect is so amazing, I will never regret doing it. It's just a challenge. But I don't mind a challenge, especially when the effect of it just turns out so gorgeous. All right. I need this bottom of the mat to hold this down. And so when it's pressed together, it will hold that wave down. All right, I think we're okay. All right, there we go. Sorry about that, crisis averted. And I'm just trimming off the edges of this so that it fits in my 5x7 frame. And we will have to cut off this little edge of wave. And luckily, everything stayed okay. Nothing moved. And so we're okay. And when that'll get pressed down into the frame. Hold on. So we're going to be putting our fig pin down, but the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that we put some glue dots on the back of the, we need to make sure we put some glue dots on the back at the bottom of these posts here. And it's just to hold her in place so she doesn't come loose when I ship her. And that's it. It's just to hold her in place so that she is adhered to the paper and really stuck. She'll stick through the whole thing. It's just trying to make sure that she sticks down really well. It's metal, so obviously the glue is not going to hold her perfectly. And these are archival safe glue dots, so she'll be just fine. I'm not going to damage the pin. And we're going to flip her over. And we will align. I want her feet at the bottom of the mat. And so we will align. And yeah, I don't want her too far over, so she's over the mat, so it's like a tricky balance. That's why I needed plenty of space here. And I love the curl of that wave. It's so cool. And you just push her straight down. Perfect. I got her on the first try. Sometimes I have to move them a couple times before I can get them. All right, and that little glue dot is now sticking to this paper, so it's really gonna hold her down. And so, yeah, so we're good to go there. I wanted to add the stars in the shape of a hook. So, oh, there's a couple stars right here, or rhinestones. These are just called basic jewels. And I just took the basic jewels and started laying them down in the shape of a hook. And I don't press them or anything. It just takes a minute because you have to keep kind of messing with them a little bit to get just the right shape of a hook. So what I actually did was I got an image. So I can't show it to you this side because I don't know if there's copyright rules or whatever. But I went ahead and I took the image of Maui's hook and I'm trying to replicate that with the rhinestones. It's kind of hard. You're going to basically make a J. But the J has like a little bit of an extra roundness at the back side. Let me press down, stay down. Oh. Sometimes the rhinestones really give me a hard time. Come on, you know you want to stay down. There we go. It's in a J, but it's definitely like an angled J so that it comes back, you know. Let's see. And we need one more. And I'm really not pressing them down. They're just lightly touching the paper. And it's so that I can try and get the right shape. Yeah, that's a little bit more like his. And I mean, technically you can try and use the actual constellation, but I think that looks good. I want it a little high, a little further, like that. And I think we need one more here. Because you know how she follows the hook in the sky? Yeah, I think that's good. So I'm pressing him down. Hopefully you could see that. I know it didn't, you know, I zoomed in enough. So, all right, so these are all pressed down. I mean, it looks really good. And so now we're just gonna pop it into our frame and we should be good to go. Much shorter than the first one. I promise you. I mean, I'm splicing and everything to make sure it's efficient for you guys, but trust me, this is much, much shorter than the original one that I did. Oh, the original one just took so long. All right. These are wood, but they just have a little plexiglass frame, which is actually really nice for shipping because, and it also helps with the cost of the frames for you guys. It's really expensive to get shadow box frames, but these ones are the least expensive ones I can find, but still look nice. A lot of them don't look that nice. They look fine, but they don't look nice. So I have a feeling I'm gonna need, right, so let's take it off the Go Pin Pro. We're gonna put it on this little pad. It's the foam that comes with the frame. We're gonna press her into the foam. And it's a little off center. The frame, the foam is 5x7 as well. So you see the little foam piece. But see, I don't want her to rip the paper. She's like popping up. Let's see if it pops in now. Okay, yeah, she does pop in. Okay. Okay, all right, it's looking good. Let me put the back on. Okay, this is a little tight. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. It looks so good. Oh, it looks so good. If you ever get any lint and stuff on your little frame, just using a dryer sheet will be enough to help get it out. All right, and we'll just pop this down. Again, it's a little tight, but it does fit. It's that little mat that makes it pop just a little bit. But isn't it beautiful? I mean, she's just gorgeous. She is just gorgeous. So that is our Moana craft. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I like that she has a fist too. I don't know. It's just a pretty neat craft. Hopefully you guys liked it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys being here. And I hope you guys have an excellent day. Thanks so much for just being here. I appreciate it. All right, have a great day. Bye.